One of my favorite things within my role is being able to hear about folks' experiences, and I think that's really where you see things shine through, right, of having those personal antidotes, and equally, I think as a mentor, just getting that perspective of how other folks might be doing things, right? It's like, okay, I want to maybe take this piece, or how can I adapt this? We might not be in the same industry, but willing to, just hear about other folks' experiences. And we know in particular with this program, we definitely tie our students with mentors that are, industry professionals, as you all are, but they might not necessarily have the same program as you. So, just things to keep in mind as you're going through the program. So with that, we have Greta Hanson here, and she is currently at Optum as the advisory analyst in the consultant development program, which is a mouthful. But Greta is a recent grad of ours here at CCAPS from our health services management program. And fun fact, don't know if you were mentioning this, Greta, but she is a past mentee. So it's really neat to see just kind of like that cycle, right, of participating as a student and then coming back and now being in your second year as a mentor. So hi, Greta.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for
That
the intro.
Yes, of course. So we do have some prepared questions here. If you don't mind just introducing yourself and sharing what inspired you to sign up to become a mentor again this year.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Greta Hanson, and I use she, her pronouns. I graduated with a degree in health services management from CCAPS back in December of 2022. I'm seeing a few familiar faces on here, whether you were a part of my class or a professor. So it's fun to kind of have it go full circle with this. I'm now about a year and a half into my first adult job, like like to call it. And I'm a part of the consulting development program with Optum. So that's a rotational program that prepares you to kind of enter the world of healthcare consulting, whether it be in technology or in hospital administration. It varies quite a bit. But I was inspired to sign up as a mentor again this year because, like Aislinn mentioned, I was actually a mentee not too long ago. And I had such a positive experience and created some really good connections all across the industry. And so I wanted to try and provide a similar opportunity and experience for others.
Awesome. Thanks, Greta. Thinking about last year, how did you and your mentee collaborate on setting goals for your mentoring relationship?
Yeah, one of the things that my mentee and I really focused on with goals was specifically career planning and progression. We concentrated on trying to connect timelines to her goals because I think in college it's really difficult to find a balance between your classes, applying to internships, having maybe a job that you're working part time, and on top of all of the typical college shenanigans that you get into. And so my mentee and I really focused a lot on the timeline for applying to internships and mapping out that process by creating real measurable goals and sticking to them. And so it was nice to kind of align that timeline with our meeting cadence as it kind of served as a natural check in with her progress.
I feel like that's so smart of just aligning what's currently, in the books along with how you're scheduling your meetings. It's not just like, okay, I guess we're meeting just to meet, but you have something tangible that you can connect it to. That's great to hear. Let's see. So thinking back, maybe whether it's last year or your experience as a mentee, what have been some of the most meaningful and rewarding moments during your mentoring experience?
Yeah, I think one of the most meaningful moments was when I took my mentee out to coffee in the office that I work at, and she ended up actually interning at the same company in a completely different department. But this was a really full circle moment because I met with my mentor that I got from the CCAPS mentoring program at the same coffee shop when I first started my job because clearly, I work at a very massive company where a lot of HSM grads end up, but it was a really special moment and very full circle.
That's super like heartwarming to hear. And now I feel like you also have to keep that tradition of going to the same coffee shop and like hoping that like all the great vibes in there.
Absolutely.
Thinking back, is there something that you would have done differently or planning to try something new this year for your new mentoring pair? We know that, every student is different. And as you shared, very multidimensional. Some have, full-time jobs, part-time jobs, very just participating in every club under the sun. So what are you kind of thinking about changing up for this year?
I think this year I'd like to try and have some more in person meetings with my mentee. In the past, we've really focused on primarily virtual meetings, but I think overall it can create a more meaningful experience and really connect with someone with some more in person interaction. As someone who primarily applied to internships and jobs and then worked remotely in my time in college alongside of all of classes virtually, I felt that I kind of lacked that in person experience when I started a career. And so I think by having more casual in person interactions with my mentee, that might help them kind of prepare for the shift that's kind of going back to a pretty in person culture overall. But personally, I'm also always looking for an excuse to get back on the U of M campus.
Great. Yeah. And I think as you shared, right, we are, at least here at the U and within my role, shifting more to in-person things. Like we definitely have the opportunity of having the flexibility of having things be virtual or hybrid, but there is sometimes if able and willing, right? We know that a lot of our folks are, all across the states or even outside of the country. But if there's an opportunity to meet up, whether it's, our mentor appreciation dinner at the very end of April, making time for that, there's opportunities to meet in person every once in a while. And
Absolutely.
so my last question for you is we have a lot of new folks this upcoming year stepping up as mentors. What advice would you give to someone entering this first year mentorship?
This one's a harder question. I had to really think about this one in advance. But overall, I think that you have to bring your whole self to the mentoring experience by being authentic and sharing all of your lived experiences. I feel like that really creates more connections with your mentor. Because sometimes, like the story about a time that you failed can be way more impactful than a success story. And I always like to share with my mentees, I will never forget the time that I applied to 42 different internships as a sophomore and only interviewed for a couple. And so I always think that trying to make it more open and available, like showing that failure is okay and to try and embrace that as you go on, is a good side of your personality to share with them. And in addition, more logistics wise, always being prepared with a little bit of an agenda for each meeting is really helpful, as though it's kind of in the mentee's shoes to come prepared and drive what the meetings are supposed to look like. Sometimes they need a little inspiration and a push to drive that conversation.
That's like the most beautiful and eloquent response. So thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. And we'll talk about some of those pieces that you shared too, Greta, about expectation setting and goal setting, and really building rapport. Something that sticks out for me personally is we had a different mentor last year share about her experiences. And, she was all about the business, which is great, right? Like we do have these goals in mind, but at the same time, that human aspect is very much necessary too, I think, to just bridge those connections and show folks that, you are human too, right? Like you don't know all the answers necessarily, but we're all giving this a shot. So thank you, Greta. I appreciate it. And I hope that this was insightful too for all of our other folks on the call. So
Yeah, thank you.